Right, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Very well, sir.
Okay. Really sorry about that. I think I need to go back this and talk about and say a few things.
Okay.
Okay, just give me some time. Let me start from here. I forgot that it was me. So today, like I said before, we're talking about gap analysis, okay? And on gap analysis, I'll run through briefly. We need to understand what are the professions that you want or professions that you want, what employers want, what are the gaps, and how to conduct a gap analysis on your own. And I started by saying that the employability ecosystem globally is changing. A lot of things that have happened or they are happening at the moment that are leading to these changes. One example is COVID. Another example is technology. If you've heard of artificial intelligence, if you've heard of automation industry, these things are changing the way initially uh, things used to work. So because of that, they have created emergency or sudden gaps in the industry that new graduates will need to necessarily compete to be able to be employed or to be employable or to continue to be in employment. Okay, so that's what necessitates the reason or necessitates this workshop. And I said, obviously, a gap analysis is needed if you take into consideration the evolving issues. So where you are today and where you want to go, there is possibly for some people a gap that will exist in that, either gaps or maybe just one. You need a key. You need to cover up. You need to close that gap to cement it and be very confident that if you get into the industry, no matter the changes, you will still remain in employment or you'll be the top person that your business or the organization actually wants. And that is a need why you need to strategically plan your career in line with the changes that are emerging in the industry. As a students and graduates expect that universities will equip them with the skills that industry wants. But most times this is not the case. Most of the people that are doing well or struggling now to live, they are doing things that they didn't learn from the universities. They didn't learn those things from books. They are things they learn in the streets by hustling, by doing things themselves, or by taking extra training somewhere and paying for. Those are the things they do, and those things are now paying even far more than how many years they spent in the university. So the reason we are doing this is because it is being argued that employers find most graduates are not adequately prepared for their career, and they are suggesting that university could do even more. If for me, when I go to school and I interact with students, I always bring emerging issues to their minds and let them know. Unfortunately or fortunately, the students that I teach in the business school, most of them have to demonstrate 20 hours of CPD every year. 20 hours of professional development from volunteering, part-time work, full-time work for those who are on sandwich. And most of them, by the time they finish or even before they finish their university degree, they're already employed or they have jobs waiting for them. And that is the training we provide. IOD is arguing that employers perceive that, of course, your skill is more important than the subject that you graduate with from the university. If you study accounting and you are unable to balance accounts, there is no need going for employment or looking for somebody to employ you. Employers want people who can deliver on the task. If I need somebody to help me photocopy a document, for instance, all I need is someone who can help me neatly photocopy that document. I will not employ you, pay you salary, and get to photocopy the documents myself. I think that doesn't work in real time. So let's move on. First, start with what exactly do you want? I know that, yeah, jobs are not there people just want to do anything to survive, but that is not the standard. If you have the confidence, if you know yourself, you have to determine exactly what you want to be. If you want to be an engineer, you start from day one. You said, I want to be an engineer, I want to be a teacher, I want to be an accountant, I want to be a doctor, a nurse, whatever you want to be, an environmentalist, that's you need to determine. Nobody's going to help you do that. Unfortunately, there are some students that I come across, even in their final years or even after graduation, you ask them, what do you want to be? They say, I don't know, I'm still struggling, I don't know anything, can go. But if you find yourself in that position, then you can't do anything. But if you are prepared for the industry, if you're prepared and have it at your mind, what exactly you want to be, it becomes easier to go ahead. So what kind of promotion, if you're already working, what kind of promotion do you want? If you are looking for a job, what kind of job are you looking for? Yeah, and then which industry does this job really exist? And what are the skills that they require? So you cannot study engineer and you want to be a medical doctor. It doesn't work. So you need the skills, engineering skills to be an engineer. To teach, you need certain levels of skills and experiences to be able to teach in a university or in a college or anywhere. So that is very important that we understand. So the next thing is, what do employers want? Employers of labor globally are always very clear or very explicit in the skills they expect from either graduates or their employers, okay? And without the employers' prompt, employees, trainers, and higher education are themselves expected to be aware of industry changes. So this is not probably now meant for people who train students and graduates anywhere in the world, that you need to be aware of emerging issues and things that are changing to be able to prepare your students to adapt. So gone are the days when you go to school and all you know is that atom is an indivisible element of an element or whatever, that definition. Or the Pythagoras theorem said the sum of the opposite is equal to the sum of the two adjacent and which are the other side. Those kind of trainings at this point in time are no longer needed in the industry. You need to have an applied perspective. How do you apply that Pythagoras theorem to solve a problem? How do you combine two molecules to be able to address a problem? That is what people now want there, because you cannot go out there and tell people you have a first-class degree, but then you know all these, but you can't help them deliver. So it's important that you see emerging issues such as artificial intelligence. How do you apply these ones in accounting, medicine, engineering, and technology? Today, technology is just everything. And going forward, the biggest companies in the world are not going to be oil and gas industries. Of course, we know what is a challenge for oil and gas now. It's going to be, honestly speaking, the big tech giants in the world. So if you look at today, Apple, for instance, look at how much Apple is worth. Look at how much Google, Amazon, all these giants are worth, and they are doing everything. Look at Facebook, for instance, that started like, okay, let's create the social platform where people can meet and share. Today, Facebook is the big company. And going forward, Facebook with metaverse and all the meta world coming, these are areas where a few graduates will begin to look at the skills and measure up. So employers want employees who have employability skills and can hit the ground running. A consideration of career aspiration, knowledge of employers' business, reflection and description of both academic and non-academic activities, for instance, not those who are simply focused on academic subjects they study. So employers need more, that's what I want to say. Now, what are the skills that are needed in the industry at the moment that you want to have in addition to your degree? Time management. So going forward, I will do different sessions on time management. How do you manage your time? What is time in the first place? And how do you manage it, maximize it to be able to deliver successfully on the job? If you know that in this world, everything depends on time, beginning from creation, day one, when they said, let there be light, that was when time started. And till today, time management is very important. If you are someone who goes to meetings very late, then know that you are not going to have much success in life. Or you keep people waiting those kind of things. If you have time, if you are scheduled your time, make sure you start knowing how to manage your time and get calendar. Those things are now on apps that you could use to manage your time. Project management is very important. Networking and communication, teamwork, understanding other people, having emotional intelligence, leadership, and using your own initiative, being adaptable, problem solving, critical thinking. Critical thinking is a huge problem among young people today. Everybody says things on social media and draw conclusions. Nobody wants to ask, why is that happening? How is it there? Or what will happen next? That is no longer there, but then it is still needed. Creativity and being innovative, having work experience. There's nothing as good as having work experience. If you don't have work experience, every other thing you have, you might struggle to be able to. Sometimes you start below your expected cadre because you don't have work experience. Other skills include negotiation, commercial awareness, persuasion, organization, motivation, and perseverance, being confident in whatever you are doing or confident, whatever you are doing, working under pressure. So not too many things will shake you or things happen and you said, oh, I can't do it again. You should be able to deliver under pressure. So do you have what employers want? So from all these that I've mentioned, what do you think will be a problem? So Stanley and Godwin, you can unmute yourself and let's have some gist. If you can hear me.
Yes, we are hearing you, sir.
Okay, that's fine. I just have to mute you from here.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, we are hearing you. I'm hearing you clear.
Okay, that's fine. So I'm going to stay mute you guys so that I can continue when I finish and I'll give you a chance to ask your questions. Okay. The question is, do you have what employers want? You can mute yourself. Okay, that's right. Do you know what employers want and what you want? So you need to know. Next is, do you have what employers want at the maximum scale? If employers want you to have ability to communicate and communicate fluently, do you have that ability to communicate and can you communicate? If between 1 and 5, how do you communicate? It's a skill that you need to understand and know how to deliver on it. Okay, the difference now between what employers want and what you have is known as a skill gap. So what employers want and what you have, is it up to standard? Between 1 and 5, is it up to 5? If it is up to 5, then there is no gap. But if you don't feel confident enough to rate yourself up to 5, it means there is a gap. Then you need to now do something. By doing that, you are simply conducting what the gap analysis is in a very short or shortest form. So a gap analysis is the process of identifying the differences between employees' current knowledge, skill, value, and experiences, and the desired specifications of a given role or organization, best practices. So what you have and what they want. So if I give you a typical example, if a pair of trainers goes for $20, for instance, if you have $20, there's no problem. You can just go and buy it. If you have $19, it means there's $1 difference. That means there is a gap. It is the same way that is applicable in the industry. The skills that they need in a particular role and the skill that you have need to match. If once there is a match, you are a good candidate for the job. And how you get to that level is the reason why we're having this workshop. So how then do you conduct a gap analysis? Number 1, determine the career and role of your choice. Number 2, scope the requirements for the career or role. And number 3, conduct a self-evaluation, which is gap analysis. Plan your development strategies clearly. Do something, implement your plan by doing something. So plan, do, and review what you have done so far. So act, plan, do, and check is one way to which you can analyze your gap, and you can conduct a self-gap analysis. Generally, do, plan, check can be applied. So, a model that you can apply in different ways. Even if you are doing a risk assessment, you can apply that briefly to plan, do, check, act, plan again. So it's a cyclical method of analyzing your gap, or analyzing gap analysis, or conducting the differences that will exist between what you have on your CV and what employers want. So next, another tool for gap analysis is SWOT. So most people do what they call SWOT analysis. SWOT is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. What that means is that if you can see the table above, SWOT analysis, it means what are your strengths? So you could do this at home by drawing a table, maybe on your own, draw a 2x2 table, and state what your strengths are. As you can see, what kind of strengths do you have? Do you have communication, IT? Under IT, what do you do? What do you love to do? Can you run? Can you teach people? Can you carry out certain analysis? Can you design a website? Or whatever you think are your key strengths, you put them there. Now identify what are your weaknesses. Of course, what are the things that you think your weaknesses? Is it emotional intelligence? You are not too emotionally intelligent. You need to put that. Or time management is your weakness. You need to put all of those together. Then look at the opportunities. Opportunities are those things that are out there that you can maximize. For instance, if there are job opportunities in a place, you could see maybe there's a job opportunity training, or the demand for trainers in a particular place, or COVID-19 has created some opportunities for you, which will also come as a threat anyway. So what are the opportunities you have out there in the particular industry that you have? Are there training opportunities, for instance? Identify all of those and list them in. Then what are the threats? What are those things that will counter your strengths, that threatens your ability to succeed out there? So you list all of those things down. If you have them correct, you now see, okay, how can your strength deal with these weaknesses, and these opportunities that you have will counter your threats. So if you put that together, it gives you an idea of the things you will need to do. So I've also developed attribute metrics here that you could use to organize yourself. So I can put this and make this available later on in the year when we start doing a more advanced training. So under attribute metrics, we have your skill, knowledge, and attribute here. You have the second column is for your rating. The next is to show evidence and example and how that links to your plan. First, you need a plan, like I showed you before. Second is to begin to list those skills here and do your evaluation technically. So if you have, for instance, leadership. Now, under leadership is taking responsibility for a group of people, coaching and motivating others, managing and delivering projects. So between these, you have A, B, C. How do you rate yourself between 1 and 5? So if you have 5, it means it is optimal. That means fine. If it is 3, then it's intermediate. 1 means for any of those, you score yourself 1. It means it's very low and you need to do something. And by doing something, you now need to show evidence and example. That's things you need to do and how they link to your plan. Okay. This is how to do a simple gap analysis. It's just to show you with time in the future, we will take this in a step where we'll give it as an assignment for people to do their own gap analysis and bring it for evaluation. So in conclusion, gentlemen that have joined and whoever will want to listen to this much later, I've introduced you to the concept of gap analysis and its purpose, what employers want. I've shown you different skills that employers want out there and how you'll be able to rate your skill sets against what employers want. And it is now open. It is now for you to consider carefully how you want to approach your own gap analysis and the things you want to do. It is very important that gap analysis events like this are documented so that it follows a systematic process. If it doesn't, at a point you might get confused and you'll be frustrated and you throw it out. So you need to document it and have it in your mind, the things you want. Then by doing your own self-evaluation, self-analysis and planning, and always have a plan B in whatever you do. It's important that you have a second plan. That plan will help you in case some things have not started working yet, then you'll be able to use that to back up yourself. So that is what I'll say briefly in this workshop, not to take much of your time. We'll have conversation, we'll do Q&A, and I want to play another video for you to watch. Then next webinar, I'll try and focus on sources of work experience and how you can evidence your work experience. Most people complain if you graduate from the university, you prepare your CV, and you see a job advert that said you need to show evidence of at least 2 years experience, and people get mad. I said, why do I need to show years of experience? Because I'm just coming from the university. But who cares? The people want you to come and help you deliver on the task. They are not employing you to come and show them your degree certificate. Okay, so what are the sources of work experience? How do you amass this work experience to be able to evidence it to an employer or immediately you finish from the university? So this usually is a challenge, and I feel I'll be able to show you certain areas or places where you can start getting work employment. Unfortunately, you need to start work employment from day one, not in your final year in the university. You need to start planning work experience. I have to demonstrate from the very beginning. So that is what we have today. And of course, if you want to contact myself at any point in time, phone numbers are there on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter. Anywhere you feel you'll get close to us, please do. And if you can tell people about this workshop, carry on, and that would be really helpful. So thank you so much, guys. And let me see if I'll be able to show you a video briefly before I end this. So if you can hear this video, do let me know.
As the World Economic Forum identified in this research, by 2025, 97 million new jobs will emerge, while 85 million jobs will disappear due to the technological evolution of the job market. For organizations across all industries, this means that certain jobs will disappear due to automation, while others will change in terms of their core tasks and responsibilities. This is where upskilling and reskilling become relevant. As we mentioned in the previous bite, the easiest way to help your workforce stay relevant is through a good upskilling strategy. Oh, and by the way, if you missed a video, you can find it here. Before you get to this, however, it's important to know which skills and knowledge are currently missing in your workforce and which skills are essential for your organization's performance. Conducting a skills gap analysis will also give insights into your entire workforce and highlight where the biggest gaps are. Make individual learning and development more efficient and personalized. Help you with your strategic workforce planning and recruitment efforts. But then, where to start? How do you implement an effective skills gap analysis into your workforce? Today, we will identify 3 essential steps for an effective skills gap analysis. As always, before we start, and if you haven't done so yet, like this video and smash that subscribe button and notifications bell. Hi, my name is Nelly and I'm the Digital HR Specialist here at AIHR. In today's bite, we'll go over the 3 steps to conduct a skills gap analysis. And if you need help putting it all into practice, in the description below you can find a step-by-step guide to the skills gap analysis. So, let's get started. 1. Scope and diagnostics. This first stage is about scoping the challenge. In the case of a skills gap analysis, this means identifying the needed skills. In order to identify the skills that the organization needs now and in the future, you need to ask and answer certain questions first. For instance, what is the organization's mission? What are the organization's business goals? What critical skills are needed to be able to perform the mission and meet the business goals? The way to identify whether or not a skill is critical is simple. If an employee lacks a certain skill, but still completes the task satisfactorily, the skill is non-critical. If it's the other way around, you need to consider it a critical skill. With regards to future skills that are needed in your organization and industry, you need to know, among other things, what jobs within your organization or industry are likely to be partially or entirely automated. What skills are currently on the rise in your industry? What kind of jobs, including new ones, will your company need more of? 2. Data collection and analysis. The second step is data collection and analysis. This is fundamental in order to analyze what tasks are being done now, rate how important these tasks are, inquire about the skills required to do the work properly. In the case of a skills gap analysis, data collection and analysis activities can include developing job profiles and identifying critical skills needed for each job role, conducting an inventory of your employees' current skills, identifying your employees' competencies and skill levels. A talent management system, for instance, functions as a searchable database that gathers all the information from your employees' performance evaluations and competency assessments, and can be a useful tool for gathering information on each employee's skill level. 3. Designing interventions. This stage is about creating an intervention that fits the needs of the organization. In our case, that means that once you've found out where the skill gaps are in your organization, you can create a strategy to best fill these gaps. A pretty common example is that of employees who lack soft digital skills, such as customer centricity and passion for learning, or who lack the skills to operate with tools and automation. Once you've identified the gaps, there are different ways to bridge them. In our previous episode, we've identified 5 of them through targeted learning and development programs, job rotation, job enrichment, peer coaching and mentoring involving external experts. In a time where organizations are increasingly looking to prepare their people for the future, it's important to know what skills and competencies your workforce currently possesses. A skills gap analysis can be a good tool to use for this. When conducted well, it can give you valuable insights into your entire workforce, help you with strategic workforce planning, and improve your recruitment efforts. An effective skills gap analysis will also enable you to optimize your learning and development programs to reskill your people where needed. So that's it for today. If you don't want to miss any of these episodes, remember to subscribe to the channel and comment on what